Right, hi everybody. So I am coming back on again. I'm going to try and shout it out because a few of you have said that yesterday you could not hear me speaking. Now, I've not intended to be on YouTube and doing this kind of thing. This is new to me, but I'm coming on to share it because I believe it's important, and then you can cross-reference what I'm saying and check things out for yourself. But I don't have any fancy speakers or anything like that. I'm literally just sat here on my bed with all my Bibles, with all my notes, with all my studies, and my iPad. There's no big fancy equipment, it's just me in my room. So hopefully this time round I'm louder. I'll try and speak up, I'll try not to be so softly spoken, and I'll try and exert my voice a bit better. So I'm trying to go over everything that I said yesterday, and then there's some bits that I've forgotten. And I did cut the video short yesterday because I heard my parents pulling into the drive and they were here to help me with some stuff. I'm actually going away tomorrow, so I just want to get this video done before I go on my little travels to meet up with some fellow believers. And have a little bit of quiet time away from the busy goings on in the world and the attacks of the enemy that I've been having. Right, let's go. I'll try and do it again. So this is to do with the mark and the abomination that causes desolation. It's the understanding that I'm going to share with you that my father gave me after my first prophetic dream that I had, which was to do with regards to this. If you haven't watched that dream video about it, I would suggest going and watching it first before you listen to what I'm about to say now, because it tells you what the dream was about and then the revelation that my father gave me a year and a half later after getting the dream. But prior to that, he led me to what I needed to know through the scriptures and finding stuff and giving me understanding. So the dream, basically, just so you know a little bit about it, it was to do with this. It was focused on one person. The name of that person was called Paul. It's somebody I knew who had taken it. And then I heard a voice in the dream, and I woke up reciting this Bible verse. The Bible verse being spoken was Luke 17:33, and it was saying, "Those that seek to save their life will lose it." And I woke up speaking that over and over again until I fully come to, and I knew that it was a direct warning from my father. I knew that they were bad before, and I knew that there was stuff in it that we should not be putting into our bodies, but he was giving me a direct warning about the dream. But the more that I pondered that verse after having that dream, I realized that that verse was speaking about your eternal soul rather than just your flesh. I then started to think in my carnal state of mind that it was possibly the mark, but my carnal thinking was, well, there is no lawless one yet, so how could it possibly be the mark? And this is how my father showed me that it was indeed the mark, and it was here, and that it was also the abomination which makes desolate. So he took me to the book of Daniel first off, and he led me to Daniel 11:31, and he got me to focus on a very specific bit. So I'll read it to you. Next page. They will abolish the daily burnt offering and set up the abomination that causes desolation. Okay, he told me to focus on the setting up part. Okay, but if we in my initial year of learning, I was using this book, the Jewish Study Bible. So my main studies were in this. But then as I grew and I went on, I got other translations, and I would cross-reference the different scriptures and the words and check them out, the meanings and stuff like that. But if we read that same verse in the 16:11, it reads, and they shall place the abomination that makes desolate. That's Daniel 11:31. So there's two different, slightly different words being used. But Abba told me to focus on the setting up, the setup. And he was showing me that the setup, when that time comes, that is the completion of the setup. So you have the setting up going on. Something has to be set up and put in place fully. It can't just happen like switching on a light and then everything's there. So the given day, that, or whatever date is set for the lawless one to be revealed, that setup of everything will be complete and ready for his revealing. And this is what Abba was showing me, that the setting up, the piece by piece, the stage by stage, the building happens beforehand, and that's what we were starting to see when he gave me that dream. So for me, I was, well, I had my self-employment business. I make cakes, and I would make very elaborate wedding cakes. This is to try and show you what Abba was showing me. So I would go on that set date, the bride and groom have a wedding, and I would go into the venue and I would take the cake that I'd made and I would set it up, and everybody could see it. But what people do not think about is that the setting up or the making of that cake, it was happening weeks, sometimes months before. I was in my kitchen and I would be making all these little intricate pieces for on that cake, and the details and the making before the setting up. I was physically in my kitchen building and baking and putting this cake together. So the setting up and the building and the process was all happening before I finally went on that given day to go and put that cake in place. Okay, so that's how Abba was showing me that this is how the mark and the desolation happens. Now we know that it's the desolation because we are very precious. Satan is after us as people, believer or not believer. We have a soul, and we know that he wants to take our souls to hell with him. So we're very precious because we're made in the image of God. And I put this information on my dream video, but we all know by now, we surely do, that this thing here is our building blocks of life. And we know that scientists have found a pattern in our code, and it's this pattern. And in the Hebrew, original Hebrew language, it has a mathematical numerical value for each letter. And this pattern spells out our Creator's name. So you know that we have all been signed like a painting with our Creator's name in our very makeup. And we know, because it's open public knowledge now, that this thing here, I knew it before, but this thing here, they mark the abomination that causes desolation, changes this. So it's the person. We are the temple. God does not dwell now in a man-made building. He dwells in the believer, the person, the body, the spirit-filled people. That's where he dwells. And we'll read 1 Corinthians 3:16. Do you not know that you are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? 17. If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy, for the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are. So we know that it's not going to be a physical man stood in a building made by man that is going to desolate it. I'm not saying that there is no lawless one. There is a lawless one coming. We know that. But the desolation is within the believer, is within the body of people, the temple, the sanctuary. And that is what we're seeing going on now, is the polluting of the sanctuary by whatever is in the active ones of these, because we can tell that there is, some people are okay, some people are not, some people have changed, some people don't. I've seen lots of people talk and say that they only did it in a percentage of these, but there's a time coming where obviously it won't be just a percentage, it will be the whole lot. So we have seen over the past few years the restrictions put on people, where we have had a little bit of we've experienced a little bit of what's to come with regards to losing. People have lost their jobs, people have been denied stuff, like myself. I got denied surgery for my cancer, or the cancer that I have in my body, which I really want rebuked and out of me, but I never got that surgery. So I have been persecuted, as many other people that wouldn't stand with this have been also, in different ways, but it's not come into full operation as yet, has it? But that's gonna happen. So we'll go on to wordings now and things that he showed. So let's consider, we've got Strong's Concordance, and I'll read these so that and you can go and check these for yourself too. So we go to Strong's Concordance in the Greek, because this part is in the New Testament. So we'll go to 5480. Let me just find it. Apologies for taking so long. 54. Okay, so 5480 is the word charagma, and it says it's from the same as 5482, which I'll read in a minute, but it's defined as a scratch or an etching, a stamp, a badge of servitude, or a sculpted figure, a graven or a mark. So there's where you get the word mark from. So the same as 5482. I'll read that one if I'm saying this right. It's charax, and that is defined as to sharpen to a point, a stake, a palisade or rampart. So you have your needle. That's like how hypodermic needle. It's a sharpened point. It's a palisade. It's a stake, isn't it? And it's going into your skin, your epidermal. And I'm just looking at that word again, and charagma, badge of servitude. If we watched, paid attention to what was going on, they had all these little, not that I'm on Facebook anymore, but they were making all these little stickers. I've had my ba ba ba, and it was almost like a little pride thing, proud badge of servitude to show that you've taken part in this, which we've never experienced with anything similar to this ever before, have we? So it was almost, it was like a badge of honour, wasn't it? Or a badge of, as it says, badge of servitude. So the next one I want you to look at is Strong's 1394, again in the Greek, because we're dealing with the New Testament side of things. And the word that I want you to focus on here is to receive. So it causes all to receive a mark. So the word cause is a cause is put in place to make a certain action happen. So we saw that this thing came in and it conquered the world. The first horseman rides forth like a conqueror to conquer, and he's given a bow and a crown, and we know that the crown is that same word for the thing that went over the entire earth. So now the act of giving, so to receive, is to give. It's the act of giving. So this one in Strong's Concordance here, 1394, to give, a gift or giving, is the word dosis. And that's where we get the word dose from. So if you look at this thing that's been given, it's drawn up, isn't it? And there's a certain amount called a dose in it, and it goes into you. So I think you know what I'm meaning. So the next thing that we want to look at, which is also, I didn't mention this in my last video, but if we read Daniel, I think it's 9:27. What shall I use? This one. This is just a traditional King James Holy Bible. So we go to Daniel 9:27. Right, so here, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and the termine shall be poured upon the desolate. Right, so that's in the King James Version. You heard that, what I just read. Now there are other translations. Let's try this one. Let's read the 1611. So again to Daniel 9:27. Oh, I hate these old numerical things. Right, okay. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. For the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate. So that's the same again, the overspreading. Now I'm trying to find the one where it says something else. I think it might be this one. Right, so in the New Jerusalem, it reads, "He shall strike a firm alliance with many people for the space of a week, and for the space of half a week he will put a stop to the sacrifice and oblation, and on the wing of the temple will be the appalling abomination until the end, until the doom assigned to the devastator." Okay, so we've got two words. There's many translations that give these two abbreviations. So you've got the on the wing of the temple will come the appalling abomination, and then you've got the overspreading of the abomination. Okay, so let's go to the Strong's Concordance again, and we go to the Hebrew one this time because this is in the Old Testament, and we want to go to number 3671. And 3671, I cannot say this. Quana, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it is saying that it's an edge or extremity and a wing. Okay, so on the wing of the temple, so if we are the temple, this is our wing, our extremity, comes the abomination that makes desolation. Okay, and interestingly enough, it also states, if I read it, I'll read the entire thing here. From Quana, if I'm saying that right, from 3670, an edge or extremity of a bird or army, interesting enough, a wing, a garment or bed clothing, flap, a quarter, a bird border, corner end, feather, other, or overspreading. Okay, so there's those two words, the wing of the temple, the wing, the extremity, or the overspreading. It's two words which are used in that particular verse for how the abomination of desolation will come. It will be on the wing of the temple. So I'm not saying I'm correct, but it's interesting to read that. Now, on the other thing, last one, Revelation 18:23, we know that all the nations are deceived by the great men of the earth and their sorcery. And we know that in the Greek, back to the Greek translation in the Strong's Concordance 5331, we have for sorcery is pharmakia, and it is medication, pharmacy, sorcery, magic, witchcraft. So we know that we have a mixing going on in the doses of these things, and it is a form of witchcraft. So we've got all those things from that you can go and check, and I say please go and check them for yourselves with the Bible verses and with the Strong's Concordance references. So I hope I'm speaking loud enough still. So back to more on us being the temple. So we know that, or I believe that this is what Abba showed me, that we are the temple, we are the holy place, and we must not defile it. So we go to, I'm going to go to my original King James one, and if we read Revelation 21 verse 9 to 10, Again, I'll read it to you, but you can go and check yourself. So Revelation 21, 9 to 10. And there came unto me one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials, full of the 7 last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, I will show thee the bride of the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God. So we have the spiritual as well as the physical. And that verse, that angel is describing the bride as the holy city, the new Jerusalem. Okay? And we know that the temple of God is the spirit-filled believer. Okay, so you've got the temple as the believer, the spirit-filled individual. Okay, and then you've got the holy city, which is the bride. So all of us, all the people that are spirit-filled combined, the full bride. So if we now go to Revelation 11, 1 to 2. And I'll read this. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise, and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple, leave out, and measure it not. For it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot for 42 months. So the verse that I just read to you in Revelation 21, 9, 10, it was stating, the angel was saying that the holy city was the bride, the new Jerusalem. So we read, and we are the temple of God, the body of Christ. So I read that again, and I change it slightly, or put the meaning so you grasp what I'm saying. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise, and measure the temple of God. So the temple of God is the believer, the spirit-filled people, and the altar, and them that worship therein. Okay, we worship in spirit and in truth. But the court which is without the temple, is that the unbeliever, without the Spirit of God dwelling in them, leave out, and measure it not, for it's given to the Gentiles. And the holy city, the bride of the Lamb, as the angel in Revelation 21 stated, shall they tread underfoot for 42 months. Now, we know that when the lawless one comes on, he's given 42 months to trample and tread and take over the saints, isn't he? So we go to now Daniel 7:25. And this is talking about the lawless one when he arrives. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and shall think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a times, and dividing of the time. So that's the 42 months, where the holy city will be trampled underfoot. It's the people, it's the bride of Christ, it's the whole body of Christ that are being trampled upon. So go and have a look at that as well, that I've just spoken of. Okay, so What else? I'll try and remember what I said yesterday and try not to forget anything that I did say. So, the next bit. So after all of my father showing me about the setting up, that it comes beforehand, and things were progressing in the world and we were learning more stuff. I'll go over the list of things that we know are in this, so that if there's any of you that don't know, already know by now. So we know that the tech in this is a crisp R tech, and we know that it alters this, our image of God. And we know also that it happened, the same thing happened in Genesis 6 before the flood, the corruption of the code within us, and it was through fallen angels intermingling with the seed of man, because it's always been and is still a seed war, a war on the seed. Now we know also that there is a substance that lights up bioluminescence. It glows under and is detectable under UV light, which goes by the name of Satan, Lucifer, and the added race on the end. We know that there's a binding agent for all of this, which is the HEK293, which is the little cells of little people, which is an abomination. That was one of the first things that I found out was in these things, because it was publicly put up on the government website, and I printed it off because a lot of things I found have either been taken down or they have been altered, but thankfully a lot of the stuff I screenshot or I printed off. So this is just the, sorry, my phone was ringing. This is just the A one, the one beginning with A, that was given out in this country, the UK, to begin with. I'm just trying to find where it says, but I believe it's still up on the government .gov.uk website. I believe it's still there. But I did print it off. I can't find it. Hold on. It's under the contents package. I don't think this matters to you because you already know. Contains what it contains. So you'll see. Oh, I don't know if I can. The lighting. See what it contains, and I think it was. So it's under the contents, and it's here. This bit. This one. Okay. So yeah, I found that out very quickly. That's the first thing I knew. We also know that it has a black metal by, I'm not going to say the word, but it begins with G, and its chemical element is made up of 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, and 6 protons. And we also know that there's micro nano tech to read your biometric data. And Abba, when I found this out, led me to Daniel 2:43, which is the iron mixed with clay, and they will mingle their seed with men, but it will not cleave, will it? Because it's not meant to be put in us. It's not meant to happen. And again, there's this man from the WEF who goes by the name of Yuval Noah Harari, and he is the top advisor to the big German man, Swab. And he is Noah. Yuval is openly been saying that in the last couple of years that surveillance has started going under the skin. So they're openly telling us what is happening, but I don't think many people are actually paying attention and running to God and seeking after him to find what's going on. So we know that there's stuff in it that is reading our whatever they want to know about us, tracking us, tracing us, reading whatever it is they want to read, and doing whatever it is they're going to be doing. But we know that God is omnipresent. He's everywhere at any one time. He knows exactly what we're all doing. He knows what's in our hearts. He knows what we're feeling, what we're thinking. Satan is a creative being. He doesn't have that ability. And you have to think from a spiritual mind, not a carnal mind, of how possibly one man could come into the world and control the whole world and know what everybody is doing at any one given time. And that is going to be done, it's quite obvious now, through the AI and the biometric and the blockchain and the whatever else they're using. I'll go and speak on that a bit more once I've covered what Abba showed me next, which was last year. Was last year? No, it was. I think it was if I remember off the top of my head, it was the end of. Oh no, beginning of. I think it was the beginning of 2022. So it's been a while that I've known. I've been leaning towards this, or been shown this. So he took me to Mark 13:14. I'll just turn to that now. I'm going to the 16:11, and it's also the same in Matthew 24:15. But I'll read the Mark one. But when you shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken by Daniel the prophet, standing where it ought not, let him that readeth understand. Then let them that be in Judea flee to the mountains. And again in Matthew 24:15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. So there's something being told to us that whoever readeth, let him understand. So it's obviously that there's a mystery, or that you need understanding to know what this verse is talking about. It's not the obvious. So what Abba was showing me was to concentrate. I mean, the words almost jumped out at me, and I was being made to focus on the when you see part. And what I believe he was showing me was that when you physically see what is within people, to the naked eye can see. So we know that this substance, which is being used glows under ultraviolet light. And to the naked eye, you cannot see that. You can't see it. Now, again, you need the spiritual mind. So think of this on the spiritual side rather than the carnal side, the physical side. If you go out and about right now and you look at people, can you physically tell without asking them if they've had this or not? And the answer is no, you can't. But I believe that what Abba was saying was that when the time comes, that physical date, when the Antichrist, the lawless one, comes in and has fully set up his system, his beast system, that we will physically be able to see this substance within people, the false light, the light of Satan rather than the light of Christ. And it's just made me think of another verse that I was shown. It's 2 Thessalonians. Off the top of my head. Bear with me when I find these, because I'm literally doing this. This is not like pre-prepared. This is just, I'm just speaking to you and hopefully being led by Abba, given the things. So I've just been given the 2 Thessalonians, and I cannot for the life of me find it now. Bear with me. I always get mixed up with these. So 2 Thessalonians. So this is about the coming of the lawless one. Let me just find the right verse that I was thinking of there. So it's chapter 2 and forgive me while I just find this. It's about sitting in the temple. Hold on a second. Should have had this prepared, but this was off the top. This was coming into my head there. Oh, I can't find it. Where is it? It's about him. It's the verse. I'll see if I can find it later. It's the verse where I think it's 2 Thessalonians, where he says that he will come and he will sit in the temple of God and show himself as God. So going back to the light, the false light in people, which I physically think that when that point comes, when you see the abomination with your naked eye, see it, you will see this substance glow, the false light in people rather than the light of Christ, and that is him sitting, okay, not physically the man sitting, but he will have his counterfeit Holy Spirit, or whatever you want to call it, sit in the holy temple of people rather than Christ. So it's the false light in place of the real light, and you will be able to see it, and everybody will be able to see it. And going back to that cake that I said about that set date, that was the wedding date for the bride and groom. It was a set date, and I would physically go into the building, the venue, and I would set up the cake for its final completion date to be finished entirely for its entire purpose. But I've been working in the background for months, weeks beforehand, which is not the obvious. It's not, you can't see it because it's concealed. It's invisible. And it's the same with this. This is, at the moment, it's there. It's sitting in the temple. It's doing something. But at the minute, it's invisible. And when that time comes, the final completion, the consummation, which is also mentioned in one of the verses in Daniel, the consummation, the completion. Consummation means completion. And you'll see it sat in people, sat in the holy place, showing himself as God, the false God, the little g, not the big G. And then where it further goes on to say that those in Judea must flee to the mountains. Now, again, this is the spiritual thing which I was trying to tell you. The spiritual aspect of things, not the physical. There is a physical Jerusalem, and there is the spiritual, the new Jerusalem, which is the, as I just read to you in Revelation 21:9-10, the angel shows the bride being the new Jerusalem. It's the people. The kingdom is among us right now. It's the people. It's the new Jerusalem, the people, the bride. So those people, I couldn't understand why, again, the carnal mind thinking, why it would mention Judea, because Judea is a place in Israel, but surely this is a world, this is the whole earth, this abomination is happening, and we have believers not just in Judea, we're everywhere. We're all dotted out across the world, and we're all in different places. So it applies to everybody. It's not just Judea, the actual physical place. So I found this. It's the meaning of Judea, and I'll try and show you because I cannot upload the links, so I have to try and find a way of putting all the links for this. But it's the Abram Accord publications, and the meaning, if you can see it, the meaning of Judea literally means place of the Jews, okay? And we, as we're told, I think it's Corinthians, if I'm correctly remembering that, we're grafted in, or is it Romans? We're grafted into the olive tree, okay? So the unbeliever is grafted into the branch of the Jews, aren't we? We then become like a Jew, not by birth, but because we're grafted in, a Gentile into the Jew, the olive tree. So we're basically becoming into Judea, the place of the Jews. So the fleeing to the mountain, which we're told to do, that when we see that abomination of desolation stood in the holy place, remember the physical eye seeing it within people, that is the point where if we can, we have to flee, all of us, because we will not light up. If you've been paying attention, they have been putting street lights that are ultraviolet. They're putting them in other places, airports, security places, and they'll probably have them everywhere else now. But there's a reason for that, isn't there? This isn't being done for fun. This is being done for a system that is being put in place. And I believe that's the reason behind it. Because if you don't show yourself as bearing that false light, I believe that you are going to become a target. And that's how it's going to make it easy for whoever to identify you. And that's why you'll have to flee to the mountains. Now, I am in a city, or not a city, but a town, and it's a relatively built up area. I don't have mountains or any open country or space around relatively close to me, so it would be difficult for me to flee. I could try, but I don't think I'd get very far. But there will be people across the world, the earth, where they will have that ability to be able to do that. And I believe that's the people that will be protected by God for the 3.5 years, as is spoken, and I think it's Revelation 12:13. And we'll read it. I'll go to my study Bible. Revelation 12:13. When the dragon saw that he'd been hurled down to earth, he went in pursuit of the woman who had given birth to the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle so that she could fly to her place in a desert, where she's taken care of for a season and 2 seasons and half a season. So that's 3.5 years away from the serpent's presence. I believe that that's speaking of the people that have to flee to the mountains. But those of us who cannot flee or are unable to because of our location of where we're living or where we're residing, it'll be us that'll be the ones that are persecuted. And that's Revelation 12:17. And the dragon was infuriated over the woman and went off to fight the rest of her children, those who obey God's commands and bear witness to Yeshua. So I believe that's the saints that are going to be martyred, and I think that's why and the time that it will happen. Now there's, just to back that verse up again, we can go to Daniel 7:25. Where is it? Is it 7:25? No, there isn't a 7:25. I've written that down wrong. Where is it then? There's a verse where it says that there will be, he's given over to persecute the saints for a times and half a time. And I've written that verse down, so I apologise. See if I can find it. It's about changing he'll change the seasons. I wonder if I can find it on here. Bear with me. Sorry about this. This is not what I planned to do. No. Oh, it's Daniel. Sorry, I'm just not with it. Daniel 7:25, not Revelation 7:25. I was looking in Revelation. Right, Daniel 7:25. Here we go. So Daniel 7:25. He will speak words against the Most High and try to exhaust the holy ones of the Most High. He will attempt to alter the seasons and the law, and the holy ones will be handed over to him for a time, times, and half a time. So we know that 42 months, 3.5 years, the saints will be handed over. So all sort of the jigsaw, the pieces all come together, don't they? Or they are for me anyway. The Lord's giving me a bit of jigsaw and I can put it in place and I can see the bigger picture being formed, and I hope you can do the same too. So I said this on my last video, I never thought I'd be here speaking like this on YouTube. I don't like being on a screen, but I am thanks to Abba, I'm being made more comfortable. I'm doing this, so it's by him that I'm doing this, not by me, because I don't like it. But before I came on here, you had me write. He was letting me write, and he made me write, or gave me the gift to write the verses and put things together. And I'm depositing these to people. It's written in a way that somebody who has no knowledge of the Bible or hasn't read it, the verses are given to show how what's coming together in the world, to try and give somebody with no knowledge a bit of knowledge and understanding as to what is happening. And then this pages are sticking together, but I've got all that. It's about these things, and then at the back those are the bit what's to come, what's coming, and then the gospel, how we must be born again, what repentance is. It's the turning away from sin. A little brief bit about how he changed me, how he came to me, and then literally just about repentance, what sin is, how to be born again, to be baptized, and that Yeshua is the way, the truth, and the life. So I said on my last video, if you want one of these to give to anyone or for yourself, I will happily post them out free of charge. I don't want any money. It's not what I'm here asking for. It's not why I'm doing this. I'm here to try and save souls. That's what God's trying to get me to do. It's in my heart to do it. I want people to come to Abba and find that perfect love that I found, because it's a very precious thing to have once you have it, once you realise. So souls are important, and I don't want money, so I want to post these out to people that want them. So again, I'll leave my email address, and I will happily post them out if you contact me, and I will send them out. I still am, I go into town when I'm feeling, I've not been, as you know, my problem, but I've been out and I spoke to people and I've given them to them, but I'll post them through people's letterboxes, or I will, as of late, I've been putting them in a little envelope, and I've been writing, you found me for a reason, and I've been depositing them in places for people to find, in the hope that God will let someone that needs it find it, because he works in mysterious ways. Going over the other things that I spoke, I realise the time and the length of this video is getting long, but I'll go over what I went over yesterday in my softly spoken quiet voice. I'll try and shout. So the tech that's being used, I found these things out, and I'll tell you about them, and I try and speak carefully, but the tech, there's a quantum computing system being set up. It's for the blockchain thing, but it's all connected. And I found this video in very early 2021, and I couldn't watch it all because it felt demonic. But it was a guy at CERN, and he was talking about this thing that they have. It's called a black box. It's called a D, what I'm doing here right now, wave. And the D, I believe, stands for either demonic or demon. I'm not quite sure. And it is the most powerful interface called quantum computing. I think it's also called Genesis technology, if I've gotten that correct. And this, I believe, is what in here, the tech, the nanostructures that are being found is going to be connecting people to this interface. You're effectively being connected to an open door for a demonic entity. So you're opening your door up for possession, effectively. And we know that the word for this thing that went across the world, if you reverse it, the spelling in Hebrew, it means possession of a demonic spirit, which is interesting again. I don't think anything being done is by coincidence, is it? Now, we know that at the moment we have these this service that makes these things run, the towers that they've been putting up. It operates on the 5, and it is called the Internet of Things. So we know it's devices, it's objects, it's pieces of equipment, Internet of Things. But there's documents for what they have to come, and if I can get the links attached, because the YouTube's not letting me attach the links, there's many documents on something called what they call the Internet of Bodies. And the Internet of Bodies is basically people, okay? So the tech is in the person, and this is what I believe we're all witnessing now, is the beast system being set up, okay, bit by bit by bit, as I've tried to explain what Abba was showing me. It's a process, it's a staging, it's a setting up to that completion date where you'll physically see it all come together. So there happens to be that when they bring out the 6th one, if they haven't already, I don't know, the Internet of Bodies, it is run by I'm just trying to find the notes. It's run by a company called Nokia. And interestingly enough, they call it the Internet, not the Internet, they call it their 6th Genesis flagship, okay? Now, if you are spiritually minded, and I'm sat here talking to you, you'll know that the 6th Genesis is the intermingling of the fallen angels spoken about in 6th Genesis. So the DNA corruption. And that's what we have happening now. So there's no coincidences. They are literally putting things in your face. And the unspiritual minded people, the people that don't know God, they haven't got a clue. They cannot see it. But when you have eyes to see, and Abba gives you those eyes to see, you can see that it's right in your face. And I'm definitely seeing that, and I really hope that you are too. Because it's all there. There's symbols, there's signs, there's I don't watch the TV anymore, because I look at a film or films that I've looked at in the past. You can see that they have pre-programmed you for what is to come, because it's all coming together. It's wicked, it's evil. When I first came to repentance and I first started studying, I started in Genesis, but of course I skipped to Revelation, and I took things from a carnal mind to begin with, not knowing until Abba started teaching me, because all teaching comes from God. You don't need a church or a person to teach. If you just sit with him, he'll teach you, and he'll lead you and guide you through the scriptures. So check everything that I am saying, please do it. And I still hope you can hear me okay. But when I read about the mark the first time properly, I physically thought it would just be a mark. But now that Abba's opened my mind up and I can see and understand, it's far more in depth and it's far more evil than I can comprehend. It's horrible. Now, what? I can go over a few more dreams that I've had that might be relevant to what I've spoken about. So I haven't just had that one dream, I've had other dreams, and when I have them I write them down. Just trying to find the book, there it is. And I don't necessarily know what I'm dreaming about. I think it's got something to obviously do with what's going on, and you have to test your dreams, don't you? Because they can come from the enemy, or they can just be you dreaming. But I've written them all down, and there is one where I'll try and find. I'll read a couple to you, or I'll tell you about a couple. So this was dated the 3rd of January 2022, and I was fleeing, and I was fleeing robots, and they were all different sizes. Some were bigger than humans, some were human size, and some were flying. And I don't know what I haven't found out what the relevance was, but one of the human people, or at least I think he's human, one of the people chasing me with these robots was the actor Craig Daniel from the James Bond. I don't know what the relevance was, but I was being chased because they were scanning people from head to foot, and these robots, and I didn't compute, so I had to run. And they started to fire these things, and I saw what they were. They were tiny, so small, and I drew them down. Let me show you in the book. You can see. Right, so they were still square things, and they had feet or little protruding legs at either end, each corner. So that was January 2022. Well, later on in the year, where they'd been scientists and doctors or whatever, they'd been examining what's in the solutions of these things, and they found structures, haven't they? They've found nanotech, they've found circuitry, they've found other things, which is both biological and metal. It's fallen angel tech, isn't it? But this is what came up, and I went, ooh, that looks like what I had a dream of, and they were firing at me. So interesting, but I thought I'd share that. Another dream I had was I was in a police station. So before I became self-employed, I was a police officer, and I did that for 14 years, and I gave it up after I had my daughter, my second child. And I was back in this police station where I used to work, but there was another room that was not there when I was there, It was different. And I went into this little room. It was almost like a tiny little closet room. And there was a bookcase on the left, and then there was a table on the right with a chair. But on the table was this tiny little A5 sized, this sort of size book. And it was very detailed. There was very detailed pictures. I can't really remember what they were, but it was all in black and white. And I was flicking through the book, and inside on one of the text, whether it was written in black, it was either highlighted or written in red, and it read, "The Nephilim are the abomination that cause desolation." Now, I know that this, well, I know now, I had this dream on the 1st of November 2021, but I know now that this stuff in here, it's not come from man, is it? This is beyond man's capability of thinking. So this is fallen angel or Nephilim tech, isn't it? It's something horrendous and wicked. So yeah, that bit in the dream was correct, wasn't it? But also the dream skipped, and then I was in another room, and I was talking to colleagues. I didn't recognize anybody, but I was talking to them about the Bible and about what was going on in the world. So I was telling them, I was preaching, I was sharing the word. And when I was there, the floor was almost like a carpeted tile stuff. You know, that carpet tile that you can get. But in the dream, the floor was concrete. And in the middle of the floor was this symbol, and it was either etched in or raised. I couldn't tell, but it was this weird symbol. And I'll show you. And I don't know what this means, so if anybody of you look, this little thing. Now, drew a bigger picture. This. Okay, can you see that? So if anybody has seen that or knows what that means, let me know, because I don't know what that is yet. And when I woke up, I think I was saying 26, or I had that number when I woke up, so I wrote that down. So I don't know what that meant. And then another dream, interesting, which I think you'll find the meaning of this one as I tell you about it. Is it here? What date was it? No, not that one. Was it before? It might have even been before. Yeah, so in October, 4th of October 2021, I had this dream, and I was out and about with my mum and dad, who have also not had this, and we were in like an open park, or a big area space which was green, and buildings were surrounding. So we're in an open area, and there were people dotted about, some way in a distance and some closer up and some right near us, and everything was fine. And then something changed, and the people around us started to change, and they were hissing like snakes. They were hissing, and they were started to come after us, and they were almost, I would say, possessed, or something horrible was happening to them. They were no longer themselves. I would say zombie-like, but it wasn't like your zombie that you would have pictured in a movie, like we see, where they're really slow. These people, they were fast, and they could run, they could chase, and they were chasing me and my mum and dad, and we all bolted off in different directions. But the dream was showing me that each individual that had become altered or changed, was almost programmed to attack the other people that were okay, that had not changed. And I seem to have a certain amount of ones coming after me that didn't seem to go after my parents, and likewise for them, they had a certain few that were going after them, and they weren't bothered by me, and vice versa. And then the dream switched, and I was back home, and I was outside, and I was in my driveway, and I don't know whether it was my husband or my neighbour, but they were standing at the other side of the car, and they've all had this, I'm afraid, and they obviously were aware that something was happening, and they said, "I'm changing, you need to run." And I ran, and that was the dream. I was also in a room somewhere that with the people that had changed and were attacking me in the park or the open space, and I was back in this room, and they were okay, and I was trying to get out and get away from them again, because I thought that they were going to change back. So the dream was focusing on something changing within people, and they were becoming I don't know, almost programmed. And I'm wondering whether, I've heard a lot of people have had similar sort of dreams, but I'm wondering if that dream was showing me that when that abomination comes, where you can physically see it, are they going to change? And are they going to come after the people, the saints that haven't had this? Is it them that are going to attack us? Or is it the beast's army, officials that he has in place, that's going to come after us? An interesting thing to ponder, isn't it? Is it going to be the false lighted people that will be programmed somehow, that open door to that demonic entity through the AI? Is that what's going to happen? I don't know. This is just me thinking from dreams that I've had and stuff that I understand now. I'm not saying that that's right, so I'm not saying that's correct. I'm just thinking and pondering things. But anyway, I think I've remembered it. I think I've covered everything. So I will, the other thing, desolation. Here we go. I haven't read this one to you. So the meaning of desolation, it means to a state of being desolate, devastation, ruin, destroyed, empty, bare. So what's it doing to our code, our makeup on that building block of life? It's desolating, isn't it? It's destroying, it's making it empty, an empty vessel without the spirit. And then also going back to when you see the abomination standing in the holy place. Stood literally means to be put into, so we know that this has been put into the temple. A ceasing, to stood means a ceasing of work or activity, halt, stand still. So we know that it's causing our code to change, so it's ceasing it, it's halting that activity to work properly in the way that Abba made it, isn't it? And it also means stood, also means placed. So back to that Daniel 11:31 in the 16:11. And they shall place the abomination that makes death desolate. And in other ones it says set up. So they're definitely placing it within people, within the sanctuary, polluting the sanctuary. I think it's 8. Wait a minute, let me just see. Bear with me while I just read this. Yeah, so the polluting of the sanctuary. This is what Abba's sort of been working on me at the moment, about the pollution of the sanctuary for the 2,300 days. I haven't got everything yet. I don't know. Still pondering and thinking about this one while I read. So I then heard one. This is Daniel 8:13. I then heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden under foot? Interesting word there, isn't it? Host. So there's the body becoming a host to something else. The wording's quite and this saint says, and he said unto me, 2,300 days then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. So this is, if we read the verse before, and a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. So again, there's that, the holy place being trodden on, the sacrifice, the daily sacrifice, I think is us, isn't it? We have to pick up our cross daily, and we have to strive to enter in through the narrow gate. The sacrifice, we're to present ourselves as a living sacrifice. I haven't got the verse off the top of my head there, but that's us, isn't it? Is it 1 Corinthians 3:16, I think? No, that's know that you're not the temple of God. Anyway, you are the sacrifice, I think. We are the sacrifice. Possibly the daily sacrifice, it's us. Give your bodies as a presentable sacrifice. I can't remember that verse, but it's, yeah. So the polluting of the sanctuary is for 2,300 days. And then in my other video I spoke of the time period of when these things started. So we got the 2.5 years. Oh, sorry, not 2.5, 3.5 years when he comes on the scene, the lawless one. And then you've got, go back and watch that video, the polluting of the sanctuary, and you'll know what I'm talking about. But it seemed to be that out of the 7 year, the covenant, he'll confirm a covenant for 7 years, two lots of 3.5 years, and you take away the 2,300 from the latter part where the lawless one is on the scene, and you go into the part before he arrives. It almost landed on the date that they started to come out, from the date that this whole who declared the demic. Go back and watch that video so you know what I'm talking about. But lots of interesting things that Abba has led me and guided me and let me see and understand. So yeah, I hope I have been louder. I realise this is a very long video, and if you're still here and you're still listening, thanks for listening. And I hope it has helped you with your studies, and I hope it does help and guide you into things. To just have a look at them. Don't take my word. I'm a person. I'm not claiming to be anything important. I'm just saying that this is me. This is what I have been led to in my four walls of my home, and my sitting and studying and my notes and everything. So I'm not a prophet, or I'm just me, Leah, a person that God came to and has changed and is working in me, and is keeping me standing even though I'm not very well at the minute. And he gives me that hope and that strength, and that's why I'm able to do what I'm doing despite this horrendous situation that I'm in. It's my what do you call it, my wilderness right now, my hard part, whatever Abba is doing or allowing. I know it's for a good reason. Obviously there's days I have my bad days where I have pain, or the flesh kicks in and you panic, because at the minute, with what I've got, staring death in the face, but I know that it is Abba that gives life, and it'll be up to him what happens to me. So I'm in good hands, and I'm gonna keep standing as we're told to do. We're told to stand. I'll hold on to his hand very tightly, and I'll keep going. I'm going away, God willing, tomorrow, and I'm traveling, and I'm going to see other believers, some friends that are not very well as well. They're elderly, but they're in the body, so we're going to go and visit them. I want to see them. And then another dear friend of my mum's, she's aware of everything that's going on. And then we're travelling back down, God willing. And Daniel, if you're watching this, I'll catch up. I'll look forward to meeting you, and having a good chat with you about everything and about God. So I look forward to that, if God allows it. So yeah, I'll try and find a way of linking all the stuff that I have, because YouTube does not like the links. It comes up red and then I can't save it even when I type it in. So I'll try and find a way of doing it, some way of doing it. I don't know, but do have a look. Keep striving. We're to strive through that narrow gate. Make sure you get in that narrow gate and don't give up. Stay on that narrow path. Keep working at it. There's so many people that say that works, you're not saved by works, you're saved by grace. And yes, that is correct. You're saved by grace, because there's nothing that we can do without the grace of God's Son that he sent for us. So there's nothing that we can do without him. We have to go to him. We go to the Son. He is the way, the truth, and the life. Our Saviour, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ. He is the way, he is the narrow gate. That's how you get in. There's no other way but by him. So make sure it's him that you're going to. Keep striving. You have to work at it. It's a daily thing. It's not a going to church once a week and singing songs and whatever. You have to walk with him daily. Put to death the flesh. Kill the flesh. Kill the temptation. It's a struggle at times. That's why it's a hard path. You have all these temptations. You have the desires of the world being thrown in your face. You have people that are not believers coming in to try to distract you or to knock you off your path. You need to be aware of it. Be aware of what the enemy is doing and how he plays with you. He uses people to try and knock you off your destination. So don't allow it. I've definitely got them on my side here that I'm battling. So works, you have to have works. Without works, faith is dead. That's what it says. Works comes naturally when you have repented, and God knows your heart. He knows every heart, and he'll give you that spirit, and it's that spirit that helps you to keep his commands, because you'll want to keep them. Even in dire situations, you'll want to keep them. I'm not saying you'll be perfect, because you won't. You'll make mistakes. It's a growing process. It's a process of gleaning, to glean and clean you up and make sure that you are that perfect bit of wheat for the harvest at the end of the age. And he'll come and get you if you're granted to live. Those left alive and who remain will be gathered up with him. But before that, the dead in Christ will rise first. We know all this, so we have to keep going. Iron sharpens iron, so I hope everything, information I've given, you can study it for yourself, and you can grow. We must all keep encouraging each other. We're told to do that when we have our low moments. I've had mine. Everybody else is having their struggles and their trials. But I was given 1 Peter that when I got my bad news. 1 Peter, gold is tested in fire to test your faith's genuineness. So whatever trial comes upon you, make sure you're still hanging on to Abba, no matter what you're faced with. So I'm going to cut the video now, because I realise this is very, very long. So keep strong, stay in the Lord, keep being observant to what's taking place. Be aware of the enemy, because I think what I've spoken about, things are not the obvious. They're not as we seem. The other thing I'll say is what I mentioned in my last, and I forgot to mention. A lot of people I see, they're saying that this is not it. But it is. It is it. They're waiting for this chip or something to come. And I believe that that is a deception. The enemy is more cunning than that. It's not going to be obvious, is it? The physical buying and selling, I think people are looking at that physical buying and selling more than what it's actually, the verses are actually meaning. We know there's tech in this, okay? So the tech is already here. You don't need a chip. So don't wait on a chip. It's already happening. They've already done it in all the ones that are active and live. It's already being done to people. So the physical buying and selling, the next thing they're bringing in, as you know, is the blockchain. It's this. Oh, digital ID. This is the mechanism that they're going to put in place to physically make you take this. This is the mark. The ID is the tool, the mechanism to make you comply to whatever it is they want you to take or put in your temple. So be aware of that. It's not the obvious. It's not the obvious. Those people that have maybe not, that don't know the Lord, but they've known something's up and they've not taken it. I mean, the enemy's sneaky, so this ID could be the tool that is going to make them adhere to it. Satan wants to, he's a deceiver, he's a liar, he's a trickster, a fraudster. He's going to use every deceptive, deceivable thing, as we're told in 2 Thessalonians, everything, to try and make you comply, to take your soul. That's what he's going to try and do. The buying and selling, we've seen it. He's taken away. He tried to, well, he's been setting up and testing things, hasn't he? He's done it to a degree already, and that full version is going to come out in place soon when they bring in this digital ID and they take away the money and the cash, and they go onto this blockchain biometric data reading, and that will be the full system in place. It's just a tool. It's not the mark. That isn't the mark. That's the tool, the mechanism to make you comply. This thing here is the desolation that they want you to have. So I hope that makes sense. Satan will focus on what you want in the flesh. So he'll take away your desires, your need to go to the cinema or on holiday. Look what they've done already. They've done it already. And then it will get to the point where it will be not just your desires for the carnal flesh, it will be your basic needs to live, your food and your water, the buying and your selling, your job, your home, everything. So you have to be prepared to lose that rather than lose your eternity with your Father. So be aware of the deception. It's not as straightforward as you think. It's more deceptive and cunning than I think a lot of people are realizing. So ponder it, think it, take it to God. And I will catch up at some point. So I'm going to say goodbye. This is a lengthy video. So God bless you all. Stay safe. I hope I've been louder. I hope it's clearer. Second time, eh? God bless. Bye-bye.